How's it going, UCLA Bruins fans? We're here on the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated from the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Tom Cavanaugh. You can follow me at TCav30 on Twitter/X, and then follow our insider pages at Rams or at Bruins Insider on SI. Today, we're going to be talking about a few different things between a couple different sports. We're going to start on the football side. They are finishing up their regular season this Saturday afternoon, taking on Fresno State. We're not able to win against USC, so not a bowl-eligible team, but they're going to send their seniors out on the right note. So we're going to break down a couple different positions where there's highlighted seniors, all of the seniors at each position, just two that we're looking at today. And then we're going to talk about the Fresno State defense a little bit since we talked about offense yesterday. And then we're also going to break down basketball as well, talk about the upcoming Big Ten opponent for Mick Cronin's squad as they tip off Big Ten play next Tuesday. So first, we'll start with the running backs. There's three senior running backs. None of them are really the featured back. It's been junior TJ Harden all year long, but a couple guys that have seen some time and have made an impact. One guy that we're going to start with has been there for 5 straight years, and then 2 others have been transfers that came in. So we'll start with the 5th-year senior, Keegan Jones. He's been there since the beginning of his career in 2019. He's had some good years in and out across, but nothing really, crazy like 1,000 yards in a season or anything. But this is probably one of his best years. He's pretty much just as good of a receiver as he is a running back. He's got about 559 career receiving yards and 5 touchdowns, and then also 794 career rushing yards with 6 scores on the ground. So he's able to be used in both aspects. I expect Keegan to be in the ball game a lot this weekend, considering there's multiple things at play here. Obviously, you're not playing for anything else after tonight or after Saturday night besides senior day and wanting to go out with a win. So if it's a close game, obviously they're gonna probably put out their top guys at all times to try to get it done. But I see if the Bruins are up by 2 scores late in the second half, you see a lot of Keegan Jones. You'll probably see a lot of this guy too in Jalen Berger. He's a transfer that's played in the Big Ten his entire career. Started at Wisconsin, played a couple years there, went to Michigan State. He played his best year in 2022 with the Spartans, where he went off for 683 rush yards, 6 touchdowns on 148 carries. And he's also got over 1,000 career rushing yards and 12 touchdowns. So Berger's been all over the map when it comes to Wisconsin, Michigan, now out in Southern California. He's originally from New Jersey, so really just a jack of all trades when it comes to travel and his college experience. But Berger's a guy that came into this season as trying to be that number 2 back, and he's done a nice job of it. He has carried the load along with Harden. Like we mentioned with Jones, he hasn't seen as many carries this year that he has in the past, but it's also been because he's been utilized in the pass game as well. And then third running back is Anthony Adkins. He also did not play this year at all. So he would take the 22 season off, enter the transfer portal after he was with Army, and then he came to Southern California in 2023. And the 5th-year senior, he has not played at all this season, but in his career, he has logged 30 carries for 178 yards. I doubt that Adkins would play in this game, possibly. He's probably the 4th running back on this team besides Berger, Jones, and Harden. But you never know. You could get in there. So looking at the linebackers, the running backs, sorry. We're going to get to the linebackers in just a minute. But that's kind of the outlook of the seniors. They deserve a lot of spotlight as they're playing their final game. So moving on to the linebackers, there's 5 guys that we're going to talk about today. 2 of them have been pretty much integral in this defense for Akaika Malloy, and 3 of them have seen time this year, but have not been as incorporated as often. They've been coming in time to time, but when you look at the top 2 guys, it's the Colorado native Kane Medrano. He's in his 5th and final year with the program. And then you got a guy in Oluwafemi Oludeo who has kind of taken a different path through his college career. He's a senior, but he's only in his 3rd year of college. So he started at Cal for 1 year in 2022 and then transferred over before the 23 season. Oludeo, he's having his best year by far in his senior season. 57 total tackles, 2 pass deflections, a team-high 4.5 sacks. It's impressive when you see a linebacker that is leading the team in sacks, and that's exactly what he's doing. You see him blitz a lot. He's in the backfield all the time. He's got a high amount of tackles for loss. He is the guy to go to when you're trying to pick up a big play. So Femi Oludeo, He's going to have a big game, I expect, and so will Kane Medrano. We'll talk about Kane real fast, too. He's got 64 total tackles this season, 3 pass deflections, zero point 0.5 on the sack sheet, and then also 3 forced fumbles and 2 interceptions. And that one of the 2 interceptions was a 50-yard pick six against Dominic Raiola, or Dylan Raiola, I'm sorry, his father, Dominic, longtime NFL center. Dylan Raiola threw a pick six to Medrano in a huge win that really propelled this Bruins team to having some success this year. That was a part of their 3-game stretch where they won some games. And Medrano was a big piece in that. Him and Oladeo are the 2 senior leaders. Also, I mean, Carson Schwessinger, obviously, he's having the best year defensively for any Bruin, but also he's a junior. So we'll talk about him next year when he's playing his final season. But yeah, those 2 guys, I mean, they've been the heart and soul of this defense. And then you look at 3 other guys. You start with Ale Cajo. He's a transfer from Alabama. Didn't start. He played 3 years there from 2018 to 2020. He played for the Bruins in 2021, and then he took 2 years off. So he's been in college for several years, since 2018, when you look back at his stat sheet. So he took 2 years off, entered the portal, he entered the portal already, and now he's back in 2024. He earned 90 tackles, 4 sacks, and 1 forced fumble in his career there. So he's played a lot of time. Cajo will probably see some. I mean, he's got logged stats this year, so I'm guessing he's going to play at least a little bit of time. I don't think Schwessinger and some of the other junior, sophomore defenders play as much in this game. Obviously, we already talked about it. Plus, it's a non-conference game. Nothing against Fresno State. They're still a darn good program. We're going to get into them in a minute. But you really want to send the seniors out in the right way. And I think head coach Deshaun Foster understands that, considering he played at this university years ago. And then 2 other guys with nearly the same name. And when I was scrolling through, I thought that they were brothers, except there's an S at the end of one of the names. So there's Joseph Vaughn and there's John Vaughn. So Joseph Vaughn, he's a transfer. And then John Vaughn's, he's been there for a minute. Vaughn, the transfer we're talking about here, Joseph, he came over this past offseason from Yale, where he spent 3 years. He had his best collegiate season last year with Yale, had 88 total tackles, 2 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 3 interceptions. And he has not really had the same production this year, but that's also because, I mean, you got guys like Schwessinger, Oladeo, Medrano. It's tough to beat those guys out when you transfer and enter this program. And then for John Vaughn's, he has been with the Bruins since he started his career in 2020. He's garnered just 4 tackles this season, but has 113 over his career, 1 sack, 2 interceptions in his 5-year career. Those 2 interceptions, good stuff from him too. So I would expect to see John play, as well as Joseph. Both Vaughn and Vaughns are getting in the game, I'm guessing, this weekend against Fresno State. So that's looking at the linebackers, the running backs. We're going to take a look now at the Fresno State defense, and they got some guys, but we'll look at them overall first. Starting with their overall defense, they're ranked 3rd in the Mountain West Conference, giving up just upwards of 350 yards a game. Their passing defense is just as good, still ranked 3rd at 210 yards per game through the air. And then on the ground, they give up a pretty decent total, but in the Mountain West, I mean, obviously you see a lot of overs there. You see a lot of points being scored. So the 4th best team in run defense still gives up 143.6 yards per game, which bodes well for Harden, Jones, Berger, whoever's in the game running the ball for the Bruins, because, I mean, they're the worst rushing team in the Big Ten statistically, still not even able to get the only team under 100 yards per game on the ground. So when you counter that with about 150 yards allowed per game from Fresno State, I can see the Bulldogs allowing a good chunk total from whoever's in the backfield for the Bruins. And then when you look at a few individuals as well, we talked about that stout passing defense. A guy in Cam Lockbridge, my goodness, I mean, he's been really good this year. 39 total tackles, 7 pass deflections, leads the team with 5 interceptions. I can see the Bruins and offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy scheming up to stay away from Cam Lockridge because he is so darn good. 5 interceptions is nothing to bat your eyes at, because in an 11-game span, having 5 of those, it's pretty darn impressive. And then when you look at the sack totals too, it's pretty spread out. You got 4 different guys on this Bulldog team that have 3 sacks apiece. They're pretty even with the Bruins when it comes to pass rush pressure. Bruins have 20 total sacks this year. Bulldogs have 19. So they're, I'd say pretty even at that aspect. And it's good to see that they have everything kind of spread out between multiple players. Obviously, not good for the Bruins because they're going to have to scout 4 or 5 different guys that are circulating in and out. Because not every one of those guys is a starter. You got a couple linebackers, couple defensive linemen too. So people are making plays on and off the field, or starters and non-starters are all making plays. So those are some guys we got to look out for as well. And then when it comes to total tackles, a guy in Tuasivi Nomura, he's a senior, 90 total tackles, doesn't have a sack this year, just 2 pass deflections, but he's kind of the centerpiece of the defense. He keeps his eyes on a swivel at all times. They do not send him to blitz. There's another linebacker with 3 sacks already this year, so you can already tell that he's just not a guy to do that. He's going to take away the run game as best as possible. He's going to look for those short passing routes and try to cut those down and lay some big hits. So those are some of the names for Fresno State that are going to be big to watch out for the Bruins offense. And then wrapping up here, we're going to talk about the men's basketball team for UCLA. They're taking on the Washington Huskies at home on Tuesday night. It's going to be the first Big Ten game for both teams as they both transition over from the Pac-12, so 2 familiar opponents. But head coach Mick Cronin of the Bruins, not so familiar with a guy in Danny Sprinkle, head coach of the Huskies, that is in his first year. Now, Sprinkle's had kind of a roller coaster of a head coaching career over the last couple of years, and one of his current players has been with him for the entire time. So Sprinkle, last year he was with Utah State for just 1 season, took them to a Mountain West title in the regular season, and then also took them to the national tournament, won a game for the first time since 2001. Very, very impressive stuff. He caught the eyes of many different teams across the entire country, and he settled on the Huskies, and he has now brought over a guy in Great Osobor with him, averaging second on the team, 13.4 points, but he also leads the team in 3 categories. Rebounds with just over 11, 3 assists a game, and just under 3.5 steals per game. Great Osobor was, it's funny, he was at Utah State with Sprinkle, and before Danny was at Utah State for that single season, he was at Montana State for a few years, and that's where Osobor was. So these two have kind of been been together, tied at the hip for his entire Osobor's entire playing career and most of Sprinkle's head coaching career, which is a pretty cool thing. And that's why you see Osobor succeeding so well, because it doesn't matter what color jersey he's wearing. He's playing for the same coach. He knows the scheme. He knows what he's expected of from his head coach. And it seems to be working out well. But the one guy that the Bruins are really going to have to watch out for is the guard, Tyler Harris. I mean, he's been legit this season. And these Huskies, they're 6-1 now. Or sorry, 5-1 now. They just beat Colorado State last night. Very good program in the Huskies. They have a nice head coach. But when you get a guy in Tyler Harris averaging 14.2 points a game, 6.2 rebounds, 2.5 blocks a game as a guard, he's legit. He's shooting over 50% from the field. He's 42% from three-point land. The Bruins, inside and out, they're going to have to watch those 2 top guys in Tyler Harris and Great Osobor if they want to start the Big Ten season 1-0, continue their home winning streak, and take their season winning streak, currently that's 5, up to 6. So a lot of different things across football and basketball. Football season wrapping up at the end of this weekend. We'll still get you some more senior spotlight stuff, and then also breakdowns of just some keys to the game for the Bruins against the Bulldogs on Saturday afternoon on Senior Day. And then for the basketball squad, it's only getting started as we get ready for Big Ten play against the Huskies. Thanks so much, everybody. We will see you again tomorrow here on the UCLA Bruins Insider Pod.